I'll probably make this more complicated than I have to. Just because I'll be feeling a little apprehensive about some of the brush strokes. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll get lucky. It should be really left and kept, I think, as a fairly simple foreground. Well, foreground, it's not the foreground right now, but you know, we're getting there, we're getting closer. That's a bit of ultramarine blue. I'm going to put in, excuse me, a bit of burnt sienna. And more white, and my brush stroke should remain reasonably heavy, reasonably thick as we get closer. Oh, I keep picking up little bits of junk there. Okay. Add a hint of yellow ochre to that mix. Okay, a little more blue. Staying too dark there. Yeah, it should get a little darker. A little lighter on the left side. And we'll get a little darker as we move our way to the right. Okay, back to that ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. Very little burnt sienna. I just want to knock the chroma of the ultramarine blue down a little bit. That's really all I'm intending to happen with that. All right, now we're going to go back to adding a little more burnt sienna and a hint of yellow ochre and a bit of white. I had mentioned earlier possibly taking a slice of this color and introducing it down here to unify the front and the back, or the foreground water and the distant water. I'm not so sure I'm going to do that. I think that just by adding a little bit of alizarin crimson and yellow ochre to my already kind of dirty mix, it raises the value enough and approximates that color in the distance. Okay, it's sort of getting there, but not quite. I think that'll do the job. Actually, I think that's just fine. Okay, I think I need to stop with the details. All right. Now we're coming to this shore. You know, I am going to put a little bit of highlight, a little more highlight in that water. More yellow ochre, a bit of white. Is that going to be a mistake? I don't think so. But I believe if I go further with it, it may end up as a mistake. I mean, adding more see, I'm kind of cutting under those strokes a little bit, giving them a bit of shape. That's too light. And really being a small panel, I shouldn't even worry too much about that. I don't like this one that much. I'm going to soften it. Okay, I better just stop. I'm starting to fixate on small things. I think that's about right. I think that'll work. Now we'll look at this shoreline in the foreground. Well, as you first off, you can see that I've simplified the water a bit again. I just had too many strokes in there. Became too busy. Now we're going to paint in our foreground, and although I want it subdued, because I have already in this structure left a lot of dark lines showing, I think I need to introduce a few more dark lines to here into the foreground. So I've mixed up a little bit of burnt sienna and actually a bit of raw umber as well, and ultramarine blue, and I'm going to put a bit of a design in here that will help to serve to make this foreground feel a little more concrete. Now, I may have mentioned the word beach before, and this is not a beach. You know, it's a rocky shelf that forms the shoreline here. Now, usually when you see a painting like this where you're looking down well, not usually, but often, when you're looking down a shoreline. It's portrayed as being a sandy shoreline, and then you will see, for the sake, I think, of design often, it'll go around the corner, and then you'll have this, hook, showing this long sort of curving line, not necessarily a line, but where the sand disappears into the water. And then you join the two and you end up with a fairly soft line there. I didn't want to do that because this structure is strong. Even the clouds are quite strong. So I needed to keep that strength up, certainly in the foreground, seeing as the foreground is more or less, certainly in this case, what you build your painting on. Visually. All right, so let's see here. Is that what I am doing? Is that even necessary? Yeah, I might just end up putting too many horizontal lines, as I did with the water, Might just want to keep it simpler. In fact, I think I am going to want to keep it simpler. So we'll do this little pigment removal, oil removal thing, and get rid of that. So I've started with a little bit of raw umber and burnt sienna to indicate that foreground. That's what I'm going to continue with for the moment. Hint of titanium white in there. Make this a little lower value, a little less white content in this spot. Okay. You know what I'll do? I'm going to add a hint of yellow ochre to it. Maybe the wrong thing to do. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, that's okay. Really for the sake of variety as much as anything. Now a hint of white again. And yeah, we'll just go right over that. Okay. Maybe I'll just vary it with values more than colors. And still burnt sienna and raw umber, but we're going to lean more into just raw umber. I'm going to go with very little burnt sienna here. Still too much burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is a strong color, or it can be if your paints are of reasonable quality. And they can be a little bit difficult to mix out. Okay. All right, now let's see here. Just a spot I'd like to touch. Okay, I guess that's more than a spot, isn't it? You see one and then you go, oh, I should do this over there too, and oh, I should do this over there too, and before you know it, you've done some more grooming, and that's okay, as long as you don't get too carried away. And again, overwork the canvas. Oh, okay, I think I'm going to call that done as the foreground is concerned. So Lauren Johnson is one of my viewers, and he, one of my subscribers actually, and he had asked a question regarding holding my brush. He commented that often when I'm drawing in my initial lines, I'll hold it like a pen, you know, closer, choked up to the bristles, and you know, often my hand is braced and what have you, because I need those to be exactly where I want them to be. If you hold a brush like this, although your painting may get looser, you know, to provide yourself with benchmarks and datum points and what have you, you want them to be pretty exact. I certainly do anyway. Now that applies more so on a smaller painting, just its physical size. That's why, you know, I sort of cut in little spots here and there, and when I'm cutting around them, I will often I'll often hold my brush like this, because you have better control. But if you hold it sort of halfway down the stem when you're painting later, and I don't even know if I did any of that on this painting because it's such a small painting, it does provide you with looser, better, you know, more painterly strokes, I guess I should say. So that's really the reason. On all of my small paintings, you will see me holding the brush much more like, you know, much more like a pen. And not always. I mean, I hold it in a number of different in a number of different ways. I don't even think about it half the time. But you know, the when you're new to painting, and if you're working on something fairly large, you know, even, you know, say a 16 by 20 and larger, sort of the traditional thinking has been that you would hold it halfway down just to get your hand used to holding the brush in a way. Keep using that handicap because it'll more rapidly develop your skill as far as brush handling is concerned. Just going to back you up here a moment. You know, I've heard stories too of, you know, in the days of heavy discipline, that a brush would be taped into the person's hand and held rigid, and there would be a stick. There would be a stick taped to the brush. The stick would come down here, tied around here, so that you had to use your elbow. You could roll the brush a little bit with your fingers, but there wasn't a lot of movement there. So that you were forced to not become too fussy. This is of course an impressionist school of thinking, but it would force you to make very direct strokes. You had to stand up. You had to stand at arm's length from your painting. You had to do all these things just to develop your skill. once you're sort of past that landmark, once you've developed your skill to some degree, then you would be allowed to start using your wrist more and what have you. And then, of course, there are always going to be some occasions, again, certainly on a smaller painting, where you want to be able to use your wrist. And I don't worry about the handicaps. I've passed that mark a long time ago, so I hope that's clear enough, Lauren. That's kind of the gist of it. Let me just zoom in again here. Where are we? Oh, I'm all the way out. Let's go in again. Okay, so I'm just going to have to make a decision on some final thoughts here, and that'll be it. Well, I could keep playing with the painting, but I'm pretty confident that I would overwork it if I were to do so. So I'm going to call it finished. It's not a painting that pops like some do, but it has a warmth to it that I quite like. I decided to separate this cloud. It disappeared behind this tree a little bit, but it lined up perfectly behind this little sort of dip where the undercut of the branches were meeting the rock. And I cut this cloud back a little bit as well, so we still have a bit of a angle going up. Change the angle of the back of this cloud. Remove the flat bottomness of this one because it was a little too much. Too much flat bottom stuff there going off the edge of the painting. This was looking very serpentine-ish. I really wanted to make this a little bit, well, bumpier. So I went over a good portion of it just with raw umber and white. And just shorter strokes, hoping to break it up a little bit. I think that's okay. I'm still not fond of this line just going off the painting like that. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay, come on. I'm not getting quite the right stroke there. Okay, that'll do it. Oh, what else to say about it? I don't think there's much, really. Happy with it. I guess we'll get on to the next thing now. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.